A day in the life of a child laborer starts early. It's 5 a.m. and a truck is taking workers to the tobacco fields of central Moldova. Eugenia wakes up at 4 and spends the whole day at work in the fields.
Depinde cum sunt părinții de vorbă, ca eu, nu mare familie, mami mult sotează, mic familie, mai puțin sotează.
Dar tu ai banul tău, nu?
Ei, dar la părinți îți duc și banul meu. Părinții mă hrănesc, părinții mă îmbracă.
Eugenia is 15. This boy is only 8 years old. He and his sister are standing in for their parents, who could not come to work today. His hands are sticky with tar from the tobacco.
La ce vârstă lucrezi? La câți anișori lucrezi?
Nu știu.
Când te duci acasă?
Doamne, că mi-e soarele sor.
Și la cât te culci? De școală la 4?
La vreo 7.
Cum vă distrați voi aici în sat?
Cred că nici la citim și am trimis și la culcat, și am chiar dimineața la 4 și nu ne distrăm. Și sărbătoarea, când ne iese doi toată ziua, și am chiar dimineața de o zi. Că de nici nu te distrezi.
Eastern Europe has the highest incidence of child labor in Europe. The breakup of the Soviet Union and the collapse of communism have had a profound impact on unemployment and poverty. Fewer jobs are available, and at the same time, the safety net of social security is no longer there. Child labor has emerged as a socially acceptable coping mechanism. These tobacco workers get $2.50 for preparing 100 kilos of dried leaves. The process of stringing out the leaves is carried out under the baking hot sun, and workers have no protective equipment. Their growth is stunted, nutrition is poor.
Children working in the tobacco fields suffer from health problems such as atypical dermatitis, allergenic dermatitis, and other skin diseases.
Children from rural areas are the most miserable. I tell you this from the bottom of my heart. They are the most miserable. Children from the cities go to the mountains, to the seaside and to the lake, while our children go only to the tobacco fields.
Maybe we as parents are guilty, but what could we do? It's hard for us as well.
Child labor affects not just youngsters' health, but their education too. Many parents cannot afford to buy books and clothes and need the money the children earn as part of the family income. At harvest time especially, there are empty seats in the classroom. But it's not just in agriculture that children work. In neighboring Ukraine, the mining industry was devastated after the breakup of the Soviet Union. Around Donetsk, many pits closed, but illegal open-cast mines sprang up in their place. Whole families began to work them to eke out a living.
Там чи прибили їх, чи що?
Пальці зажало!
О, пошла вроде. Пошла. А ну пошли.
Людям по нещастю, дітям по нещастю приходиться лізти в ці дирки.
Тут половина города, подростки, которые, они все работают вот так, как и мы работаем.
Кто деньги зарабатывает, матери помогает.
Хто в їх начальник і що в їх начальник, ми не знаємо.
Дети, даже некоторые дети в школу не ходят. Почему? Потому что должны там маме хоть копеечку принести в семью.
Мне не страшно, не знаю, как может там другим страшно, мне не страшно.
Unscrupulous owners of illegal mines use child labor because it's cheap. There are also so-called family mines in the region, dug out in backyards. The leader of the independent Ukrainian miners' trade union, Mikhailo Volinets, has raised the issue and campaigned against exploitation.
Був випадок в місті Сніжному декілька років назад.
Several years ago, in the town of Snezhno, one large family adopted 10 children from an orphanage and made them work in an illegal mine during the night. We stepped in and returned these children to the orphanage.
Цих дітей повернули до будинку сиріт.
In some countries of Eastern Europe, the orphanages themselves have been a problem. In Ukraine, the Minister of Youth and Family Affairs recognizes that institutions are not always the best solution.
Головний пріоритет, який ми бачимо, це розвиток сімейних форм виховання.
Our main priority is to develop family forms of upbringing and gradually eliminate the orphanage systems of raising orphan children. This system requires the support of adoptive families, foster families, family-type children's homes, as well as a reform of the adoption system in Ukraine, in which the priority is a national adoption system.
Національне усиновлення.
In Ukraine, the International Labour Organization estimates that 350,000 children are involved in child labour. It's concentrated in poorly paid sectors such as construction work, or here, in Romania, in brickmaking. It's hazardous, heavy work, and it's sometimes done by members of the Roma minority. The Roma suffer from discrimination, meaning it's particularly hard for them to find decent work. At the same time, there's a tradition of encouraging children to earn a living rather than go to school. Nelu is 13.
I rarely go to school. I stay here with my mother to help her with the bricks.
There is a connection between poverty and the lack of capacity to plan ahead. Every poor person thinks about how to survive the next day. The National Agency for the Roma is focused on family, and the results of our work influences also the children.
What do I want to become? A driver. It will be tough. I work every day and I may not go to school because I work here, carrying bricks.
The consequences of child labor influence also the family. It perpetuates poverty. If the child is not allowed to go to school, the family will not get higher incomes and will not be able to get out of poverty.
In many countries of Eastern Europe, poor families have left the countryside for the cities. They may end up destitute, on the streets. When Mihai was a baby, his father used to beg on the streets of Bucharest, holding the child in his arms.
I've been begging since I was 5. By the traffic lights, at the crossroads. At 10, I learned how to wash windshields. Begging doesn't pay very well. You can stay by the car for ages and no one will give you anything.
Mihai now lives with an adoptive mother. He gives her the money he earns on the streets.
I give her around $7 every day. And if I make this money sooner, let's say in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, then I give her more, so I can make less the next day. It's a good thing that on Sundays I only have to give her $5 because there's no traffic.
It's a short step away from living on the streets to becoming involved in criminal activities. 12-year-old Sandu explains how this happens.
The first time you steal, you're afraid, until you get used to it. After that, you enjoy stealing. You earn money. A man left his car to buy a newspaper and I got up and found a little bag with 500 euros in it. That's how I started.
Now he's living in a re-education center. At least he's off the streets.
Begging is closely related to petty crime. It's a first step. The first step towards crime because it's easy to shift from begging and depending on people's charity to spotting a wallet, an open car, or an unlocked door.
At the re-education center, Sandu is safe, well-fed, and looking forward to catching up with lessons.
Do you know what I would like to learn? How to read.
There are organized activities and a chance to socialize. Girls are particularly vulnerable to life on the streets. They can end up in prostitution. A day in the life of these Romanian youngsters starts late at night.
The risks that these people are exposed to are related to genital injuries that can go from simple wounds to severe tissue damage and infections, the most serious of which is HIV. These youngsters are used for prostitution. That implies multiple sexual contacts and hence increased risk.
In Ukraine too, the sex trade exploits young people. Marina is now 17. Her parents are alcoholics who got into debt. Her father left the family when she was 12 and from then on, men used to come to the house to drink vodka and spend time with her mother. One of them paid her special attention.
Uncle Vova gave me candies. He was good. He didn't shout. He spoke to me. When my mom was sleeping, drunk, he told me that I was already grown up and that he would buy me sneakers. Well, and he did this. I didn't tell my mom. Then came Uncle Kolya, Uncle Sasha, and others. They bought me chocolate, jeans, food. They stroked my head. I thought they loved me.
Давали їсти, гладили мене по голові. Я думала, що вони мене люблять.
Vulnerable children are open to exploitation that knows no borders. The huge wage gap between Eastern and Western Europe has led to increased migration and a rise in trafficking. Tudor's pictures tell a story. His mother was offered a job abroad and left her home in Moldova with her children, thinking she would be working in Moscow. But the family ended up in Poland, where they were sold to a criminal gang. They were forced to beg and hand over the money they earned.
They took us to the supermarket and told us to beg. There was another child with me, a younger one. My feet were aching. I was standing there without moving, without turning around at all. If we had disobeyed, we would have been beaten.
However, change is on its way. This reality may be bleak, but improvements have been made. With enough time, effort, and the will to succeed, these children can look forward to a brighter future. In Ukraine, for example, the ILO has worked with local authorities and NGOs, and in the last 2 years they have withdrawn more than 1,000 children from the worst forms of child labor. Alina started to work at the age of 8.
For me, work started at 5 in the morning and lasted until 9 in the evening. You get up and work. When I was 11, I went to first grade, and I wanted to go to school, but my mother was against it.
With the help of a group named Successful Woman, Alina, now 18 and with a child, has been undergoing rehabilitation for a year. In the Kyiv region, the ILO project has helped rescue 50 teenagers, mostly girls, who were being exploited in the sex trade.
Одним із позитивних результатів стало те, що в рамках
One of the positive results was that within the framework of this program, they learned how to build their relations with relatives, friends, environment, family, and persons of the opposite sex.
Та особами протилежної статі. Але нашим завданням є надати ті навички.
Our task is to provide a child with such skills that when encountering problems in the future, the child can solve them independently.
Проблемами. Вона вже пробувала вирішувати їх самостійно.
In Romania, the key has been to tackle child labor on a national level using international resources.
We began in earnest in the year 2000, at the same time as the launch of the International Program for the Elimination of Child Labor by the International Labour Organization. Romania signed a memorandum with the ILO for the implementation of the program in the country. And this has been put into action through the establishment in Romania of the National Directorate Committee for the Combat and Elimination of Child Labor.
În România, a Comitetului Național Director pentru combaterea și eliminarea exploatării prin muncă.
In Moldova, school children were asked to write an essay entitled My Solution for the Elimination of Child Labor.
Țiți oamenilor pentru care contează viitorul nostru și de asemenea pentru cei care exploatează munca copiilor, ne dându-și seama că noi, copiii, suntem viitorul acestei țări. A exploata un copil înseamnă a nimici o floare ce încearcă să-și deschidă petalele la răsăritul soarelui, sau a risipi un vis ce abia își caută menirea și își capătă culoarea, sau a răni aripa păsării în zbor. Numai unindu-ne forțele vom reuși să împiedicăm exploatarea muncii copiilor, vom reuși să le creăm un prezent cât mai decent și să-i ajutăm să privească în viitor cu gânduri optimiste.